Hi, my name's Kelly. I'm a CBT therapist and forensic psychologist, and this is part 2 of the introduction to schema therapy. I realised I was talking quite a bit in the last one, so I wanted to break it down and to revisit it. So in the last video, we spoke about the different types of schemas and the different types of maladaptive coping modes. Within this video, I want to talk about the child and the adult modes. And in schema therapy, understanding what your or your client's unmet needs are is super important, because often it is those unmet needs, those situations that trigger the child or the adult modes to come in, obviously with the schemas as well. And when you're able to understand what your client or your own unmet needs are, you're able to fulfill those needs as an adult in a way that allows those unmet needs to feel that they have actually been met. So an unmet need could be potentially feeling safe or being able to play, and really being able to understand, okay, how can I make myself feel safe? How can I enjoy myself with the play? And that's how you really kind of look at those unmet needs. But within that, you have the child modes. So often when a schema is triggered, we would go into the maladaptive coping mode that we spoke about last time, so the surrender, avoidance, or the overcompensation. But then you also have the child modes. So you have vulnerable child, you have the angry or impulsive child, and then you have the happy child. This actually has broken down into a lot more different versions. There's a lonely child, an abandoned child, but I'm just going to focus on the 3 in these videos. So the vulnerable child is really, we all have inner childs, but the vulnerable child is the one that is linked to the unmet needs. So when you are a vulnerable child, it is that you're kind of feeling that your needs aren't being met, therefore you feel vulnerable. But interestingly with this is, if you imagine the vulnerable child here, you often have the angry or the impulsive child that come in front and try to protect that vulnerable child. So when we see the angry and the impulsive child kind of flaring out, slamming doors, shouting, or just doing things because they want to try and get their needs met, there's that vulnerable child behind, but the angry child comes in front of it. So what you want to do within schema therapy is being able to soothe and calm that vulnerable child, so that the angry impulsive child, so the vulnerable child is able to be able to come out and to get their own needs met. So as I said, you've got the vulnerable child, you've got the angry and the impulsive child, and you also have the happy child. So the happy child is when the child's able to get their needs met, they're happy, they're enjoying themselves. But with that, you also have the parent modes. So the parent modes, you have the demanding parent and you have the critical parent, but you also have the healthy adult. And remember, when we're talking about parent, it's not just biological parents, it is any sort of caregiver or anyone that had an impact upon someone when they were growing up. So when you have the demanding parent, this is when it's pointing the fingers, it's kind of telling you, you need to do this, you need to do that, if you don't do this, then, and putting higher demands on a child. And then you have the critical parent, again, that finger wagging feels like it's coming out again, but really putting that child down, telling them maybe that they can't do it or they're not good enough. And often as we grow up, that we internalize those parents, and then we can, sometimes when we're putting ourselves down, we can almost hear other people's voices in our head, putting ourselves down, telling ourselves that we're not good enough. But that is coming from a place of these parent modes that have been triggered by our schemas. But you also get the interplay between the child modes and the parent modes. So you have the vulnerable child, but you have the critical parent putting it down, and then you get the angry child that comes in to try and stand its ground, to tell itself, the critical parent, to go away, but the critical parent sometimes still stays there. And that's why you need the healthy adult. So the healthy adult is able to speak back to the critical parent and put the critical parent in its place. It's able to, again, to soothe that angry and impulsive child and to listen to what they need, but in a supportive way, and then also to support and care for the vulnerable child and release the happy child. So that is really a super brief introduction into the child and the parent modes. And as I said, please check out the other video where I kind of talk more about the schemas and the maladaptive coping modes. But I really would highly recommend looking into this model and this theory because it is fascinating, and I see it in myself, I see it in my clients, and really having that really deep understanding of what our schemas are, what modes we go into, and how we can manage and navigate life without them causing us too much difficulties. I hope you found that helpful. Please like and subscribe if you did, and let me know in the comments anything else you would like to learn about. Thank you so much and take care.